today's newscast, where we'll be going back in time to get a closer look at the education reform movement of the 1800s. Before the movement changed the nation, children in America received little to no education unless they were from a wealthy family. Education was also centered around religion, with most kids only having a Bible and a hornbook to bring to school. Subjects like science, complicated mathematics, and history were not included in the children's curriculum.
Horace Mann saw a flaw in this education system and wanted to give the opportunity for the lower class to rise up and become a better group of citizens. Today, we join Horace Mann in the early 1800s to get the inside scoop of this impactful matter.
Can you tell us a little bit about your background and your job that you have now?
I grew up in the poor town of Franklin, Massachusetts, where the schools were in terrible condition. The year was very short. Teachers used violent methods of punishment, and the important subjects weren't taught. Because of these conditions, I mainly got my education by reading books from my library.
What made you want to become the leader of this revolutionary reform movement?
Reformers like me hoped that the creation of common schools would give poor students the moral character and body knowledge to compete with upper-class kids. I always believed that a teacher who is attempting to teach without inspiring the people with a desire to learn is hammering on cold iron.
Can you give us a basis of what the movement is trying to accomplish and the public's response?
Our main goal is to make sure that every child in America has the opportunity to get the education they deserve. We want our citizens to support this movement by paying taxes to increase public school conditions, pay teachers a higher salary, and have special training for teachers. As for the public response, maybe we should take a trip to the opening of the Boston English High School.
I'm from Alabama, and I've never been so happy to finally go to school. Farming is not my cup of tea, if you know what I mean. I want to be able to do something with my life.
Everyone should have a chance for a good education, but me paying for it, that's a hard pass. I'm not going to pay for kids I don't know.
These northerners need to calm down. Us southerners need every working body to bring in an income for our family to survive. I will not be sending my children off to school where they won't be making money for our family.
It's just about time that my daughter can get an education just like the wealthy children. Education! Burn the schools! Burn them!
Obviously, these protesters did not get their wishes because by 1850, approximately 75% of white children ages 5 through 19 were enrolled in school. And now back to the studio!
Thank you. Let's take a look at another historical figure, Catherine Beecher, who helped shape the schools we learned in today.
What part did you play in this education reform movement?
I'm an advocate for women's education, and I fully believe that women should be taught the same curriculum as men. Also, that all teachers should be women.
May I ask why you believe women would fit the role of teachers?
A woman's power comes from her teaching and domestic roles. Women are most powerful in the homes and the schools.
What forms of protest or propaganda did you use to accomplish your goals?
Well, it was really a lot of Horace Mann's doing. He influenced the Massachusetts state government to form many laws in favor of public education. For example, the legislative law to levy taxes in the 1800 for public schools and the 1827 law that made all grades of public school open to children free of charge. It was very progressive because in 1885 they passed a mandatory attendance law in the schools in the state of Massachusetts.
Was there any specific protests you performed?
I wrote a few books for the public, some being a treatise on domestic economy, the duty of American women to their country, and the domestic receipt book. They were supposed to teach the public that women's roles are educators and mothers.
Now we have with us Mary Leon, a pioneer of women's education.
Tell us a little bit about yourself and your impact on the movement.
I am a supporter of equal education for everyone, no matter your gender or status in society. I also created my own school, Mount Holyoke Female Seminary, which I feel is very special because of the curriculum we taught. I made sure the women who attended my school were receiving the same knowledge as the men's school.
What were your efforts and the efforts of your supporters able to accomplish?
We made the first public school system and integrated a better curriculum for everyone that's still in use today. These new schools developed into schools that included people from all races. The main point that I think most reformers are most proud of is letting everyone get the education they deserve so that the general public is safer, smarter, and stronger.
And would you say you accomplished the movement's goal?
I would say we did a great job in improving the public school system in America. Admission is up throughout the nation, the school years are longer, and there is a standard curriculum that will help all students in America learn.
Well, thank you for your time today, and back to the studio.
Thanks! And to wrap things up for this segment, let's highlight some of our main points.
Today we explored the 1800s education reform movement. We talked with Horace Mann, the main reformer of this movement, to understand more about how our country has changed public school systems from having awful conditions and minimum teaching to schools that are in top-notch shape and include a variety of subjects for learning.
We found out that people like Horace Mann, Mary Leon, and Catherine Beecher were famous advocates that helped bring a better experience in public schools to the children of the 19th century. The education reform movement had one main goal, and that was to make sure that every child in America had the opportunity to get an education in order to thrive in the community.
We also got a little insight on events that are still happening today in the education reform movement.
Yes, under the new administration and new Secretary of Education, Betsy DeVos, has posed the idea to cut public school funding for charter schools, which are public schools that are taxpayer funded but privately run. Other big ones like March for Our Lives and the teachers' strike have gotten many people involved in bettering the American education system.
On education, so important, we are going to give students choice and allow charter schools to thrive.
One group found, on average, charters had a slight edge over traditional public schools in reading and did about the same in math, but acknowledged charter quality is uneven across the states and across schools.
Then there's not really an option, so that gives the leeway to say, well, hey, let's open up a charter school and give the people an option, but then the charter school that you open, you know, is it quality or is it just to get the money?
It's the first time a vice president has ever had to break a 50-50 deadlock in the US Senate to get a cabinet appointee confirmed. But Betsy DeVos has proved a controversial appointment as education secretary.
And the nomination is confirmed.
What we're concerned about is that record because in Michigan, as you said, for the last 25 years, she has worked to dismantle, destabilize, and to fund public schools at the very same time as she's worked to shield for-profit charters from any kind of accountability. And those schools have done very badly, and the public schools, particularly for Black and brown children, have been very destabilized in places like Flint, Detroit, Ecorse, and other places.
Today, the Secretary of Education, before this committee, refused to affirm that she would put forward a program that would ban discrimination based on LGBTQ status of students, or would ban discrimination based on religion.
Sir, that's not what I said.
Well,
that is not what I said.
I've asked you to clarify, and you've refused to do so.
Discrimination in any form is wrong. I don't support discrimination in any form.
Does your program ban such discrimination? Yes or no?
What program are you talking about?
Your charter school and your private school grant program.
As I said before, and let me say it again, schools that receive federal funds need to follow federal law, period. What does the future hold? More funding? Does that fix the problem? Yes. Again, the data will show otherwise. With the U.S. spending significantly more per pupil.
West Virginia are holding their ground. They say they won't go back to work until they get a 5% raise. Lawmakers are debating whether to give them what they're asking for.
Fight continues for teacher pay increases in Hillsborough County. Tonight, a school board meeting is expected to be standing room only, filled with teachers, students, and parents, after teachers tell News Channel 8 they have not received the promised increase in 4 years.
As you can imagine, it is a challenging, difficult morning. George is on the scene in Florida where another community is in disbelief, shocked by devastating violence, this time at that Florida high school on Valentine's Day.
This image, one that has become all too familiar. Students evacuating with their hands up. The suspect in that deadly shooting is now in custody. New images this morning showing him being taken to jail.
The adults aren't the ones sitting in the classrooms feeling scared when they hear a loud noise outside and wondering somewhere in the back of their mind where the nearest exit is. That's the kids. That's the 16-year-olds, and that's the 5-year-old.
We've never had any discussions in school. We've never had any procedures that we need to take if this happened. It's kind of like if this happens, you're on your own.
We want lawmakers to know specifically that we are scared.
to go to school. We are honestly terrified that we could be the next victim.
This is directly a message to Congress and lawmakers that we are the next generation of voters, and we will not stand any longer for this NRA money to influence the decisions that they make.
Signing off. It's been real.
Thanks for watching.